Babies know how to be born, and mothers know how to deliver. How is it that women have been giving birth on their backs for so many years? How come it is that the C-section rate in the United States of America is now at 30%, and the rest of the world is growing? This seems so unnecessary, when in fact it was a king that you will hear about that instituted the process of a woman lying on her back giving birth. Please welcome to It's Rainmaking Time, Barbara Harper, founder of Waterbirth International, an RN, a childbirth advocate, a midwife, and the author of Gentle Birth Choices by Inner Traditions. Barbara, welcome to It's Rainmaking Time.
Good morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are streaming this show live on the World Wide Web and will be up on satellite shortly. I'm Kim Greenhouse. I'm delighted to have you to the show. I also want to welcome an associate, Roberta Scare, the co-author of A Good Birth, A Safe Birth in its third edition, a woman who has been on the leadership team and co-founder of the Coalition for Improving Maternity Services, and editor of Genesis, the newsletter for Lamaze International, a former board member of Lamaze International and La Leche League leader for 30 years, mother of four and grandmother of one, Roberta Scare. Welcome to It's Rainmaking Time.
Good morning, Kim and Barbara. It's good to be with you.
You know, ladies, we have to talk to the public about how it is that women transitioned around the world from giving birth, squatting, to giving births on our backs.
You know, Kim, we touched on this subject last week, so to bring our new listeners up to speed, just a very brief overview. We talked about how women for centuries and centuries have been in charge of the process of birthing, inviting their friends, their sisters, their mothers. In every native culture around the world, it's unusual to find a man in the process, and around in the late 18th century, the 1700s, when I think we said it was Louis XIV was having his mistresses have his babies, he decided that he wanted to watch the process. And to do that, to peek behind the curtains and watch the woman give birth, who traditionally women would sit on stools or kneel or squat, and you can't see the baby coming out that way. You just kind of stick your hands down and catch it when it pops out.
Do you literally catch it?
You literally catch it, yeah.
That's
babies
amazing.
aren't delivered like pizza or milk. Babies are caught, you know.
Wow.
It doesn't take a great deal of skill, unless there's a problem, of course. But so Louis hid behind the curtains and had the physician, the court physician, put the woman on her back, put her feet up in the air, so he could see the whole process. And well, if it was good for the courtesans of the French regime, then it should be good for everybody, right? And so it became quickly in vogue. And that's just an example of it. But the broader scope is that medicine intervened and made childbirth a medical procedure. Yes, it saved lives, but so did washing hands.
That's true.
So did good nutrition. All of those things that kind of are downplayed in the spectrum and the light of modern medical obstetrics.
Let me ask you this. When you give that information out about how the process came to be, there are going to be listeners who are asking themselves, where did you find out that information and how can they verify it?
I did this during my own pregnancy. I want everybody who's listening to, after the show, to lie down on the floor with the bottom part of their legs up on the couch, so that you're in this pseudo position of having your legs up in stirrups.
We call it the stranded beetle position.
Right. So see how it feels
Go on,
like,
Roberta.
and imagine trying to push a baby out in that position. Then stand up and gently bend your knees and visualize the same thing, and you'll feel it in your body.
Well, isn't it an obvious gravitational function as well?
Yes.
Part of it is working with gravity.
Yes.
And the body wants to be in a certain position for releasing this child.
The
Right.
worst possible position for opening your cervix, opening your perineum, allowing a baby to be born, because babies know how to do this. The worst possible position is on your back. You're cutting off the blood flow to your abdominal cavity because of the weight on your vena cava. You are not allowing your coccyx, which kind of has a hinge on it. It's kind of a swing door, and it gives you more space when you're upright. You just go back into history and look at drawings, wood carvings, things like that. I've researched Middle East. How was Christ born? Christ was probably born with Mary, either with one foot up on a bale of hay or straw and one foot down on the floor, or just plain old kneeling.
So biologically, this is how it's always been, and now the complete opposite is in place. When you said, Barbara, that babies know how to do this, and you said this to me on the phone several weeks ago, and it blew my mind, that babies know how to be born. Can you articulate what you mean by that? Because that's a very big statement when you really let it in. What do you mean babies know how to be born?
Well, not very many people understand the chemical and hormonal processes that go between the mother and the baby. And labor, the process of the contractions of the uterus that open the cervix to allow the baby to emerge, labor begins by the release of a hormone from the baby's pituitary gland. And scientists and researchers for the last 15 to 20 years have been looking at our DNA. They've been looking at the chemicals that are released in the baby's brain and in the mother's body that control all these processes of sexuality and birth and maturation of the baby and labor. And it's an incredible orchestra of working together. Mother's body grows the baby and releases the baby. Baby's body grows to a certain point, says, okay, it's time, I'm ready, and then has to go through an innate process that says, first I go this way, then I go that way, and it has nothing to do other than follow that innate process that's within its brain cells. And the baby must complete those movements to be a whole and complete human being.
So this is already, it's kind of like something that's in the works, ready to be played out, almost like an executable program.
But also, though, when the baby molds to the mother's body, so that's another good reason why the mother shouldn't have anesthesia for most normal births, because the baby is molding and changing how it's moving down through the mother's perineum to be born. So it's not pre-programmed. The baby responds to the mother, and the mother responds to the baby.
Again, it's a concert in motion, and motion is the key here. When a woman is tied down to a bed, she's not moving her body. When she's anesthetized with an epidural from her upper body all the way down, when she can't feel anything, she can't change positions to accommodate for the baby to change slight positions as well. So in this concert, in this what I call a birth dance, she needs to be active. There are many books and scientific research that will tell you that the best way to keep a labor going is to be active, to move, to squat, to walk, to rock in a rocking chair, to get in a tub of water, to float, to do anything but be in a bed, lie on your back, and not move.
How does the medical establishment face itself then? And when you really think about the climbing C-section rates, how does any OBGYN face themselves knowing what the body is established, it organically does, and what the process is, what the process has always been? How could the public and how could the medical establishment allow this process to be, I think, seized, controlled, and then a sustained ownership of it? I don't understand how that's possible.
Well, the two words control and ownership of it explain it, I think. The fear. Go ahead, Barbara.
Well, also, let's put on the OB glasses for a moment. And I'm a highly trained